afternoon and welcome to the 9 Bulletin, your trusted source for insights into the very foundations of reasoning. I'm Nini and today we bring you a special report on a topic that underpins all clear thought, the law of logic. These aren't just abstract rules, there's the fundamental principle that guide how we reason, helping us to think symmetrically and make sense of the world. Think of them as the foundational assumptions that all rational discussion is built upon. Joining me for this report are our expert correspondent, Danial and Ayuni. First, let's go over to Danial, who has been compiling a comprehensive list of the fundamental laws of logic that guide our understanding. Danial, tell us about this essential principle.
Hi to all people that watching this news. My name is Ahmad and I'm from the 9 Bulletins. Today we're gonna talk about the law of logic. I just found there are 12 laws of logic that we can use to evaluate the validity of arguments and to ensure that reasoning is sound. The first one is identity law. What is identity law? Identity law is that express how an element behaves with respect to an operation that leave it unchanged. For example, P or false will become P, and P and true will become P also. These reflect the same logical principles as Boolean algebra. The next one is a domination law. Domination law is a simplified Boolean expression. They state that when a true value is OR with any other value, the result is true. Conversely, when a false value is AND with any other value, the result will become false. Moreover, there is an idempotent law. Idempotent is the operation that produces the same result regardless of how many times they are applied. Next one is a double negation law. This law is a proposition is logically equivalent to its double negation, such as double not A equal to A. And there is a commutative law. Commutative law is the principle that the order in which number and are added or multiplied does not change the result. Next is associative law. In mathematics, describe how grouping in addition or multiplication doesn't affect the result. The next one is a distributive law. In a mathematics state, that a multiplication operation can be distributed across an addition or subtraction operation. The next one is a De Morgan law. De Morgan law, if you are negating an OR statement, is the same as negating each part separately and connecting them with an AND. If you are negating an AND statement, it's the same as negating each part separately and connecting them with an OR. Next one is the absorption law. It's a principle that simplifies Boolean expression by reducing multiple terms to a single one. For the next part is a conditional identity. The conditional identity expresses the relationship between a conditional statement and its equivalent form. The next one is contrapositive. Contrapositive is a form by negating both the hypothesis A and conclusion B, and then switching their positions. It becomes, if not B, then not A. If the original statement is true, then its contrapositive is also true. Next one is inverse law. The inverse law, if P and not P, it will become false, and P or not P, it will become true. That is the end of list of law. Then I will pass to main stage.
Thank you, Danial, for laying out those critical principles. Now let's see how these laws apply in real-world scenario. We'll start with Ayuni, who has our first logical challenge.
Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Ayuni from 9 Bulletin. Today, I will walk you through a logic problem using step-by-step law of logic. Let's begin with the first example. We are given this proposition which is P implies Q and not Q and in bracket R or not Q. So let's simplify it. Step 1. Replace the implication. we need to use the conditional identity law. P implies Q is equivalent to not P or Q. So now the expression becomes not P or Q and not Q, and in bracket R or not Q. For the second step, we need to apply the absorption law. The part not Q and in bracket R or not Q simplifies to just not Q, because not Q is already included in the expression. So now we have not P or Q and not Q. For the third step, we need to use the distributive law. We expand the expression and becomes not P and not Q, or Q and not Q. Next step, we need to use the inverse law. Q and not Q is always false. So now we have not P and not Q, or false. For the next step, we need to use the identity law. Any expression or false is just that expression. So now we get not P and not Q. And next, we apply the De Morgan's law. Not P and not Q is equivalent to not in bracket P or Q. So the final result is not in bracket P or Q. Then we compare both sides and found that both sides are logically equivalent. Thank you for joining me in this logical breakdown. So now, let's go back to the main stage.
Excellent analysis, Uni. And now I have our second example, which delves a bit deeper into the powerful laws of logic we just heard about. Our task is to simplify the proposition not in bracket P biconditional not Q. We start by rewriting the biconditional using the conditional identity. Not in bracket P implies not Q, and in bracket not Q implies P. Next, we apply De Morgan's law to break apart the conjunction not P implies not Q, or not in bracket not Q implies P. Then we simplify each conditional using the conditional identity again. Not in bracket not P or not Q, or not in bracket Q or P. We now apply De Morgan's law and double negation where necessary to set up for simplification. In bracket P and Q, or in bracket not Q and not P. Using the distributive law, we restructure the expression in bracket P and Q or not Q, and in bracket P and Q or not P. We're using distributive law again to simplify it. In bracket not Q or P, and in bracket not Q or Q, and in bracket not P or P, and in bracket not P or Q. We simplify part the expression using the inverse law, which result in a tautology T. In bracket not Q or P, and T and not P or Q. Applying the identity law, we simplify everything down to not Q or P in bracket and in bracket not P or Q. And there you have it, the proposition not in bracket P biconditional Q simplifying beautifully. For our final example, let's turn back to Neil, who has a scenario that highlights how laws of logic can clarify complex situations.
For the next example is not P and bracket P or Q implies Q. There is a conditional identity we use, and it will become not bracket not P and bracket P or Q, and next we use De Morgan's and double negation law, and it will become bracket P or bracket not P and not Q, bracket or Q. After that, we use distributive law, and it will become bracket P or not P and bracket P or not Q or Q. And then next one, it will be turned like bracket true and bracket P or not Q, bracket or Q. And that one we use inverse law. For the next one, we use identity law, and it will turn bracket P or not Q, bracket or Q. And then the third last is we use associative law, and it will become P or bracket not Q or Q. And then it will turn P or true. That one we use inverse law. The last one we use domination law. The last answer is true. And then that's all from me. Thank you.
Wait. And now, to wrap things up, as we have seen throughout this video, applying comparable identities is an important step in simplifying complex logical statements. There isn't one fixed method to solve every equation. It all depends on how we analyze the given example. And most importantly, we can use a set of logical laws, known as the 12 laws of logic, to help us form clear and valid equivalence. By understanding and applying these principles, we improve not just our academic performance, but also our everyday reasoning skills. So, that's all from us. Reporting from 9 Bulletin, I am Ainaa Binti Sethuridin with my friends.
My name is Ahmad Danial bin Norsalmi.
And my name is Alani Fatini Binti Azhar.
And on behalf of our team, we hope you will join us again for more essential knowledge. Goodbye!
Bye.
Pause dulu.
Cut. Ha?
Ya Allah, kenapa?
Tak apa. Risau. Jangan hero kedua.
Jangan hidup.
Wait. Kenapa tadi macam lagi okey?